Costco is finally being exposed for the rotisserie chicken. Apparently it's full of toxins, chemicals, modified food starch, and people are freaking out. But does this actually matter? Let's break it down.
Turns out it uses two additives, including sodium phosphate and carrageenan.
Sodium phosphate and carrageenan. Sounds scary, right? But context matters.
High phosphate intake stresses the kidneys, and carrageenan has been linked to increased intestinal permeability, also known as leaky gut.
The truth is, this isn't why people are failing to improve their health, lose fat, or build muscle. Firstly, sodium phosphate is made up of sodium and phosphate, which are essential to the human body. It's a type of salt used for brining to retain its moisture. It's not some steroid injection. Regulatory safety evaluations are based in toxicology and exposure data, and they confirm that within normal established levels there are no harmful evidence to humans. Even the European Food Safety Authorities have concluded that they are of low acute oral toxicity with no genotoxic or carcinogenic concerns. Now, observational studies have found that phosphate intake could be a concern in a high exposure settings. For example, diets heavy in ultra-processed foods. Potential risk appears in more pronounced and vulnerable groups. For example, someone with kidney disease, not the healthy population. And when it comes to carrageenan, there are two types of carrageenan. One is degraded carrageenan, which is not safe for human consumption and is used for medical purposes. The other is food-grade carrageenan, which is safe for human consumption and derives from red edible seaweed. Imagine beefing with the sea. The confusion comes from outdated studies where degraded carrageenan or polygenine was referred to as carrageenan, which resulted in misidentification. So based on current human evidence, there is nothing to panic over. Now wait until you hear this one.
But the lawsuit that exposed this is barely scratching the surface. Unlike natural pasture-raised birds, which take 12 to 16 weeks to mature, Costco artificially grows their birds to 6 pounds in 7 weeks.
Now this is about selective breeding, not steroids. There are no meta-analyses showing that hormones are used in broilers because poultry production has not used hormones for decades. It's not only not permitted by the USDA and the FDA, but also equivalent agencies around the world. And the industry literature confirms this. You see, just like you, I used to believe all of this. But research on broiler growths actually focuses on nutrition and genetics, not hormones. And there are no systematic review and meta-analysis on hormone enhancement on broilers because this practice does not exist in commercial poultry production. Now this one is even crazier.
Stuffing them in barns, feeding them soy, finally rinsing them in chlorine. And
now, just a quick one. The totality of evidence have shown that there are no significant health disadvantages for chickens fed a soy-based diet under normal conditions. So what did they actually show? This meta-analysis examined the effects of a fermented soybean meal on broilers' performance across 16 studies. It found that the final body weight increase, the average daily gain, feed intake, and the feed conversion ratio was not adversely affected, and the studies showed no consistent negative effects or related health outcomes. Same with this study and this comparative study, supporting the idea that soy is nutritionally effective and does not inherently worsen your health and the meat quality. Now this one just gets even more ridiculous.
Feeding them soy, finally rinsing them in chlorine, and injecting them with a solution.
Now, first of all, chlorinated water rinsing is not the same as bleaching. Even though chlorinated water rinsing has been shown to significantly reduce contamination and shown to be safe during the processing at the levels exposed, this practice has significantly declined as of today. Many processors now use alternative antimicrobial interventions such as PAA, organic acid sprays. This shift is driven by export market requirements, for example, the EU, and advances in processing technology. And just to be clear, you are not ingesting chlorine as an additive. It functions as a surface antimicrobial during processing. The EU does not allow chlorine washed poultry. This is due to the difference in the approach in food safety regulations, not the toxicity findings, which they've also concluded that it poses no risk to humans. Safe handling and cooking your chicken correctly matters way more than if your chicken was chlorine rinsed. Now this fear just gets even more ridiculous.
Even worse, their chickens are then packed into hot PET plastic bags that leach antimony, microplastics, and acetaldehyde. You should check the risks before buying your $5 chicken, and now you can check the latest chicken ratings and testing on the Oasis app.
So selling fear to market a product. Let's break it down scientifically. Firstly, those bags used for the Costco's rotisserie chicken is food grade plastic. They're typically made from nylon, PET, polypropylene, or multi-layer materials specifically engineered for hot food contact. In other words, it's not random plastic. Food packaging materials must meet food safety standards around the world. That includes migration testing, where plastics are tested under high heat, fat and acidic conditions to see if it transfers into the food. Under worst case scenario, if the migration test exceeds the strict limits, it doesn't get approved. And guess what? The chicken is not even on the shelf long enough for it to leach any plastic. And actually, there's probably none by the time you even get there. Hot holding shelves needs to keep food around 60 degrees or 140 Fahrenheit to prevent bacterial growth. And most of these plastics are designed to tolerate well above 93 degrees. This means that the chicken sitting on the shelf is way below the stress testing temperature for regulatory approval. The classic Costco's rotisserie chicken does not sit on the shelf long enough to meet these conditions. And there is no credible evidence showing that the Costco's rotisserie bag causes harmful exposure at normal uses. So the claim that the bag is leaching plastic in a dangerous way is not supported by toxicology, not supported by temperature science, and not supported by regulatory testing. It's a misunderstanding of how material science and dose response actually work. And if you're worried about food safety, undercooking your chicken is more of a concern than the chicken sitting in a bag. Now, the purpose of this video is not that you shouldn't care about what you are eating or showing no concern. It's about making smart, informed decisions instead of obsessing over food. And this is what happens when we focus too much on scary ingredient names rather than the overall dietary pattern. And the reality is, your body does not respond to headlines. It responds to energy balance and where that energy is coming from. If you're constantly in a calorie surplus, you will gain weight, which can also lead to other health complications. And if you're in a calorie deficit and you focus on quality, you will lose weight, but in a healthier way that's actually sustainable. Your overall dietary pattern and your lifestyle matters way more than if your chicken was sitting in that bag. Your protein intake matters, your sleep matters, your hydration matters, having a healthy body composition matters, and most importantly, your relationship with food and exercise matters. Most people don't struggle because of the red edible seaweed that's in your chicken. They struggle because they rely on extremes. One week it's everything is toxic, and then the next week it's I'll start on Monday. Most people don't fail because of carrageenan. They fail because they lack the structure of good habits. If you build a simple system where your nutrition and your training matches your lifestyle and your schedule and your habits, you can eat food, enjoy your life, and still make progress. Your body doesn't change because you avoided rotisserie chicken. It changes because you've built a system that allows you to stick to it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Facts over fear, and anything about toxic foods, hormone imbalance, fat loss, whatever it is, drop the next claim down below and I'll break it down. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.